Hello, welcome to Breakfast Central, reaching you live from the city of aquatic splendor, Lagos State. And aquatic splendor for a reason, we'll explain that in the next few minutes. It's really not funny. People thought that the rainfalls and the floods were restricted to the island, but I guess all districts of Lagos are feeling the heat. Some say it's a natural phenomenon, it's an act of God. Some have said it's an act of carelessness in human beings, and some are blaming the government for not planning for this type of days, you know, doing much with the drainages, and also the citizens have a part to share. So I guess it's a combination of all three factors. But I'll leave it to you to make your judgment. Yes, it's a Monday. It's a beautiful Monday, reaching you live from Lagos, and hope you had a great weekend. We're excited to be back here to bring you Breakfast Central. 3 hours of informative, insightful, and news discussions, and the biggest stories making the rounds across the country. I am Benga Aborowa. Welcome to the program. I'll hand you over to the delectable royalty. She's in purple this morning, Olive Emodi. Good morning, Your Highness.
Good morning. Good morning, Nigeria.
Are we doing one color a week?
Yes, we are this week.
Okay.
Last week was red, this week figure.
Okay, I'll do great too, so I don't miss out on the trend.
All right, well done. You're welcome to Breakfast Central. Thank you for joining us this morning. For the next 3 hours, we're taking you around the country, looking at some of the biggest stories that have happened in Nigeria's political space, in Lagos and in the different parts with the NDC. But thank you for starting with us today. Joe Hansen will be back, and the team will be complete tomorrow. Joe, we definitely have missed you on the show. You see that I'm nice when you go and leave. I'm not like Benga that says evil things about you when you go and leave. I saw
floating on canoe in Agungi yesterday.
Let's start with the flood. There were warnings about heavy rainfall and heavy floods hit Ikorodu, Lagos on Saturday after hours of torrential rainfall, leaving homes submerged, roads impassable, and residents stranded. Many communities, including Itunwaye and Ijede, reported severe damage to property and urgent calls for government intervention. Now, these are some of the videos of the flood. Now, yesterday, it started raining, Benga, on my way from church I was having brunch with a friend. At about 1 p.m., the rain started, and in a few minutes, I was swimming in my car back to my house because what I ordered was not what I got. And you would think that it will stop there and that, you know, by today things will be better. As at 2 a.m., when it started raining, I started praying because I began to imagine what the roads will look like. I swam out of my estate this morning, getting to the main road.
So it's even a miracle.
It was a miracle getting to work, because even the driver could not get to me. I had to drive out. As I was driving, imagine when you're swimming and you're praying.
That nothing happens.
I was just praying over my car. We pray over the wildest things in Nigeria because of what our reality
I'm glad you made it to work this morning.
So swimming out, then you get to the road, swimming through the road. The water was already getting halfway. So driving an SUV is no longer a luxury. It's now a necessity, because with those of us who have saloon cars, it's really, you are fighting against the water. There were people who said that much earlier, when they were walking through the water was getting to their waist level. And the most heartbreaking part about all of this is, for example, those on the island pay exorbitant fees for rent. I was mentioning last week how my rent was increased by 116%. I'm having a conversation with my landlord today. Wish me luck. But you have all of these experiences, yet the quality of your living is not better.
I mean, if you compare it to, if you were paying a commensurate rate in the Republic of Benin or Togo, it would look as if you're living in heaven. I'm telling you, it's not what the charges and the money they pay, and it's a common reoccurring, and it gets worse every year. I know Lagos is, we're a coastal city, so rains are expected to be heavy, but a lack of planning, the three factors that I mentioned earlier. Of course, flash floods happen everywhere in the world. They're an act of God. You really can't stop this sort of things from happening, but the degree of this, I mean, just look at the images, very heart-wrenching. I can imagine how many cars have been damaged. People are already struggling to get by, and then you have to spend that income that could go into other productive ventures on fixing your cars. And this is, in the past, you expect flooding to be on inner roads, inner streets.
On the express.
But this is on the express. So you're just caught in the middle. If you knew, you're just going about your business, you think, oh, okay, it's a regular rain. And I can imagine the traffic gridlock, how people's days were disrupted, how they had to spend hours in this mess. Lagos State, Lagos citizens really have to step up. It's not by just draining silt, because the Commissioner of Environment, Tokunbo Wahab, visited some estates yesterday, and he said, some family or royal family blocked the storm drainage channel and this and that. And I'm wondering, how are you just discovering it? You said last year you created means and different channels for flood water to exit into the lagoon, and today we're still facing the same issue. So the government needs to be proactive and shouldn't wait for, and also continuous monitoring, and shouldn't just wait for rainy season to put in mitigation efforts to stop this flooding. It's really, really heart-wrenching.
When we hear about it being flash flooding, the question is, were there no also expectations? Because NIMC had given its predictions. There's prediction of the very heavy rainfalls that we're going to experience. Certain areas were pointed out, Ikorodu being one of them, the Lekki environs also being there. So what was a plan that was put ahead of time? We often hear all the time that a lot of these rain floods or this floods is caused by blockage of the drainages. But what has been done between the time that these announcements were made and the time when these floods happened? Did we have adequate time to do this preparation, or do we continue to blame, the weather, blame the dam? We knew, for example, we know of dams being released intermittently. It's something that happens and then we feel the impact of it. But what is being done? The buildings on the drainages, what is being done about them as well? It then goes back to, even now that real estate is such a big deal in Nigeria, where properties are being sold, where people are buying land and they're seeing how land is appreciating. The question is, have we put systems in place to ensure that we're not seeing a repeat incidence of approvals being given to people to build properties?
Like, how dare your landlord? I hope he's not watching, so I won't put you in more trouble. How dare him increase your landlord and your rent in this sort of season?
Well, that's what's wild. That's the reality. I'm not the only one. There are many people whose rents have unfortunately been increased. The only conversation is then what will be a reasonable increase. I
really thank God for my landlord. Such a kind, generous man. God bless my landlord. I really hope my landlord is watching this morning.
God will bless my landlord as my landlord favorably considers my appeal today. Because right now, it would seem that what we're doing is working to pay rent, using your salary to pay rent. But let's see what Nigerians are saying about the flooding. But before that, maybe we should then tell you about the environmental sanitation exercise that occurred the last Saturday. This is, of course, the third environmental sanitation exercise that occurred. And we could see Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu
very hands-on.
Yeah. And
now packing all the dirty.
Seriously packing it. This took place on, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu personally joined residents in cleaning up the community. And the government was not alone, or the governor rather was not alone. He was accompanied by the First Lady, Dr. Ebijoke Sanwo-Olu, and the wife of the Deputy Governor, Mrs. Oluremi Hamzat, and the Honorable Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, who is in the news because of the flood, Honorable Tokunbo Wahab. Together, they rolled up their sleeves, supervised the clearing of the refuse, and encouraged citizens to take ownership of their environment. The governor and his team reinforced the importance of collective responsibility in tackling waste management and environmental challenges. Speaking after the exercise, Lagos State Commissioner of Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, said the state was also making efforts to address the waste management concerns and situation in the state. Just to also mention that some of the things that had been mentioned, there was a key announcement. Governor Sanwo-Olu announced the procurement of 150 new compactor trucks that will be deployed for waste evacuation within the first, and these were expected to be received within the first 3 months.
Okay, I'm glad they put a timeline there, so it doesn't end up like the AI cameras that were promised to residents of Plateau State. But this is commendable. This is hands-on and leadership by example, and I hope our Lagosians would emulate and, keep the environment clean. And so many people have said, I don't think it's I mean, it's my personal opinion. People said it's optics, but I don't think it's optics. Governor Sanwo-Olu is not going for a third term in office, so he didn't necessarily have to, roll his sleeves and get dirty to say. But my only concern about this is, you do this once in a month sanitation exercise for whatever reason, to set an example. But at the end of the day, people pack out silt and garbage from their drainages, hoping that Loma will come and clear them, but they don't. And it stays there. Sometimes it even solidifies for weeks and months on end. So it defeats the entire purpose. If you're going to encourage people to come clean the environment, I think the basic minimum and barest minimum the Lagos state government can do is that those compactor trucks and garbage trucks and dumpsters make their rounds around communities and clear the garbage there and silt that must have been removed from the drainages, so as to ensure that, yes, that they're really clean and they don't end up back there or taking some space from the road, because that's what we've seen most times. And also, this is a call out to the Lagos State Department of Public Works. We know the quality of some roads in Lagos. The asphalt roads are terrible. So whenever it rains, the rain washes off the asphalt and we have new potholes.
Oh, we have fresh ones.
Yes, because you try to, or even on Lekki Ekpe
that they just did.
That people suffered. That was covered for.
Yes, there are new holes that are coming up there.
Even on my way to the office, I had to dodge one.
You start memorizing them.
Because I've memorized them, but I didn't know this. I didn't know they had given birth to a newborn pothole. That's the reality for states that generate billions in internally generated revenue and getting more money from federal allocation. I think this is not excellent. If you call yourself the center of excellence, you need to do better. So please, if you're going to do remedial works on these roads, patch it up as soon as possible, because you're not going to stop that road, block that Lekki Ekpe road again for another 6 months and, come up with a timeline and say you're doing all of this. But that's...
I mean, before that, just to mention again that in addition to what you said, that it's great news. The announcement of the 150 compactor trucks is fantastic updates with Lagos State, so well done. The government, I'm sure at this point, is already embarrassed by the daily call-outs that Nigerians have been calling out Lagos State government.
Because they haven't said anything about the elephant in the room, which is the Olusosu dumps site. Because you're buying these trucks, but where would they be dumping the waste? And the turnaround is still, even in my neighborhood, there's so much houses that haven't had their garbage disposed of in months and in weeks. So beyond buying that, what is the immediate solution to all of this? What are you doing about Olusosu? There's still many questions that are begging for answers.
Right. So it really is. There's work that needs to be done in terms of ensuring that we have the Lagos of our dreams. Lagos is a mega city and must, must exhibit the traits of a mega city. Let's take a look at this video.
My name is Adetukumbo Wahab, and I'm the Honorable Commissioner for the Environment and Water Resources in Lagos State. Okay, so just to see the level of work that is ongoing from the concessionaire, Zoom Lion, that are going to help us with a waste to wealth program that we seek to embark on as a state. This place will be one of the transfer loading stations that will transfer about 2,500 metric tons of waste a day to the material recovery sites that will be at Ikorodu. And the target is for them to commence before the end of the year. So we just have to come and see what they are doing. Also, they are also helping us by way of CSR to stabilize one of the major roads at Olusosu, but 1.2 kilometer road.
So there you have it, the Honorable Commissioner of Environment and Water Resources, Honorable Tokunbo Wahab, Commissioner in Lagos State, talking about the state of the Olusosun dump. He was there. He went to pay a visit to the concessionaire, the company known as Zoom Lion, and it says work is currently ongoing. That's the update. But Lagosians will tell you that their garbage and their refuse is not being cleared.
Today on my way to work, even when I was complaining of the flood, my estate is an estate in a bigger estate. Then I came out of the smaller estate.
Oh, inside your Evian, another
Evian inside, exactly. When I came out of the estate, the bigger one leads to the road. If you see dustbin, apparently the rain emptied the dustbin on the roads, different dust. So the road was a mess. It's the dirtiest I've ever seen it.
And it's not yet December.
And we haven't even got, oh wow, you're really dry. Let's see what Nigerians are saying. But just to mention that before we head to X to take tweets, we do take your comments on YouTube. We're streaming live on YouTube via News Central TV Live. So please head there, drop your comments regarding the stories we've looked at this morning, which is, of course, the flooding in Lagos, as well as the environmental sanitation exercise, the promise of 150 compactor trucks by Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, as well as the timeline that has been given within the first 3 months. Let us know what your experience is within that, in that regard. But now let's take tweets on X, and then we'll come back to YouTube to take comments. Our first tweet on X says, "Tears camera full everywhere. This is the real economic social sanitation, camera versus waste disposal. Why camera no go full everywhere? I don't understand."
You have to prove now.
Exactly, show workings. Mr. Governor, with all due respect, you might want to take a little tour of Mushin or Ebute before celebrating this. The waste in the video looks more like a neatly managed computer village waste bin compared to what residents deal with daily. If we're showcasing cleanliness, let's make sure we've seen the whole picture first. Buki says, when almost everywhere in Lagos is overflowing with dustbins, Sweet Delights by Laurel says, waste management is still a problem in Lagos State. Now, wow, call me Kenneth King says, why are their gloves looking new and very neat? Thought the exercise was a norm to them. Yeah, they smell. This is just the third one, really. They haven't been doing a lot of, this is just the third song.
You know, and it's funny how the conversation developed. First, it was Lagos was smelling, and people got offended. Oh, go back to your state, go back to your village.
Go back.
Yes, go back.
We'll talk about that one later.
Talk about it, and it evolved into, okay, but first it was the scent, it was the odor that people were perceiving. And then it now became a full-blown waste management crisis, visual evidence everywhere. So we can talk about Olusosun for those that he serves around the Alausa or Egunke to Ikeja axis, Maryland or Jota. But what about Aja Road? A day after the sanitation, you need to see piles of waste on the road. Like this is one of the things that irks me the most. Anytime I'm driving around and I see litter on the road, I feel really, really bad. Even before this full-blown crisis developed, places that normally wouldn't have this sort of heaps of refuse, they have. And I mean, I have to doff my hat to the hardworking men and women of Loma, rather, the ones that the street sweepers and the drain dogs, they do a tireless and thankless job because, I mean, they're overwhelmed. Sometimes they have all this garbage, but there's no dumpster truck or to evacuate all the nonsense they've taken out of the streets. It's really, really sad.
All right, let's come to YouTube and take comments on YouTube. Michael Zuz says, Lagos State continues to demolish people's houses with the excuse that they block drainage, yet flooding persists. I put it on Motorshot that his demolitions are acts of wickedness against innocent people. Good morning, Moki and Chukwemeka. Good morning to our YouTube audience. Mr. Johnson, okay, I'll come back to read your comments about the landlord, but let's talk about flood. He says, I'm not against environmental sanitation, but have not observed that after the sanitation, but have you observed that after the sanitation, the dirt is left on the road? After a while, it will all return to the gutters. Exactly what you said. The reason why I will use my vote to change this present Lagos State government, GRV has given us how this can be done. But you see this government, everything is politics to them, and that's why it's annoying. In 2026, so they want to tell us this cannot be controlled. Haba, no, now, the will is not there. I can't see it, please. Then regarding the house rent saga that we talked about, he says, Benga, I was supposed to pay 700,000 naira in April, but my landlord increased it to 1 million, and he was telling me this around March. I had to beg him to give me grace of two months. I just paid the 1M. So someone's rent is expiring by April. You tell them by March. I think there's also...
Where do you want him to... Is his salary not constant?
I don't understand.
Or did you get information that
there's also legal practices. There's best practice with regard to giving a tenant notice. You can't give a tenant a 1-month notice of salary increment. There are case laws, I think, that would say that 6 months is a reasonable enough time.
So you have time to...
So you have time to plan and to prepare, because most people have already planned their life. They're removing a certain portion of their salary every month to contribute towards their rent fund. So springing up that level of surprise...
But I'm glad his landlord cooperated.
No, his landlord cooperated for extra time, but he still paid the 1 million.
I mean, look at that increase. If you had that percentage increase, would you not be happy compared to what he has serving? But he's watching, be careful what you say.
It is
my landlord is a great man.
Okay.
Today's show is my landlord is better than your landlord.
This one that we have come to the position where we are all sucking up to landlords because it looks like your destiny is in their hands. Let's go to a story that started trending over from last week and then spilled over to the course of today's show. Nigeria's First Lady, Mrs. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, over the weekend faced heavy criticism after advising Nigerians to use government grants to start small businesses like frying akara, roasting corn, or selling kuli. Many citizens criticized the remarks as insensitive, arguing that they downplayed the severity of economic hardship. In response, the presidency clarified that her comments were meant to encourage entrepreneurship at the grassroots level, stressing that the Renewed Hope initiative provides direct grants, not loans, to empower vulnerable families. Officials added that beyond micro-business support, the program funds healthcare, education, and social investment projects, urging Nigerians to see her remarks as a call to resilience rather than a dismissal of their struggles. So this video started trending over the course of the weekend. Then they posted a full video to give context to what she was saying. I believe it was either by Ononuga or Larry Olayinka that posted this video giving context and saying that she was taken out of context and that there was a much larger statement that was being made. But let's listen.
Administration. How do we as mothers in our various states in the nation, all I do is just coordinate them. What are you doing in your state? Can you do this? And that's why we brought RHI on board, so that every state, even whatever the trickle is, they are supposed to multiply it. And we can see that with our 3rd year anniversary with FCT, what she was able to do. I was just surprised. I don't know whether you were all there.
Yes.
Yes, because that was the message. She gone beyond what was given, even personally. Even I know at times when she will cry. I said, but is the first person that will hold a position that will do the sacrifice. So, and then you have to build for others to, like the Bible will say, you can't, our parents will not bring forth for trouble. So what we are doing in this administration is to make sure that even generations of unborn would benefit. And I believe that there are a lot of foundations that Mr. President has to rebuild and, has to, whether to rejig so that they can build lasting legacies that will even, transcend this administration. So that's what I believe he's trying to do. And there are a lot of things that have really, like when we take subsidy removal, for example, if Nigerians don't believe in what he could do, I don't think we would have had it so easy. It was tough, very, very tough, which we all know. But the challenges then, we're able to surmount. At least, we haven't gotten to cruise line yet, but we're getting there. But now everyone has to know the way of doing business is different. The way we do business now is just quite different. We're just looking at, how many people have we... we're trying to give hope. And to start akara business doesn't take a lot of money. To start roasting corn, or somebody even said about grant, you see, they're saying that kuli doesn't take much. We didn't give them a loan. We gave it to them as a grant. So we've encouraged Nigerians as best as we could. What is within our hands, I have given, and I keep giving, and those are the things we've done. I remember giving for TB, when I heard there's so much TB cases, I gave 2 billion to breast cancer, I gave 1 billion. To food malnutrition, I gave 500 million. So those are the things we've been doing.
Well, the video gave the context to what the First Lady was trying to say that was allegedly taken out of context. But I don't know that this video, given in the full perspective, takes away from the feelings that Nigerians had and the reactions that Nigerians have had. And I'll explain why. First, yes, there is really a place for small and medium businesses, and we're not looking down on them. These are the engine of the society. But Nigerians pushing back against what the First Lady said, I believe, is not necessarily out of just what was said in this video, but previous character evidence that have shown a disconnect between the ruling class and the current realities of Nigeria. Bear in mind, this same First Lady, on the 4th of June, gave cars to to APC women leaders in the opposition states. The same First Lady, we've seen her, and she's quite generous. We must applaud that. 2 billion, 1 billion here to breast cancer and all the donations that we're seeing.
And also the library project.
But if Nigerians are seeing that there is a donation and they're giving something as lavish as cars to APC women leaders, and this statement is being made about Akara and Kuli, that's not, again, the kind of empowerment Nigerians are looking to hear about. If the ruling class deserves to have cars, then something more substantial, is what they would expect for the regular Nigerians.
But when you're speaking in general terms, you didn't specify audience. You just said, you can give grants to these people and they can start all these sorts of businesses. It means, is that what any young Nigerian should aspire to do? I mean, like we said, we put the caveat that there's no crime in doing small businesses, but just what it is. And all this talk about cooling and Akara, I've not had breakfast. It's making me hungry. But let's join our lead correspondent, Bernard Akede, who is like, is it Moses? Yes, he's not in the burning bush this time. He is stuck.
Bernard Akede, where are you? We hear that you were swimming to work this morning. I already did my first fair share of swimming. Where exactly are you, and what is the reality? We can't see the reality.
Moses part in the Red Sea.
For context, right? This is somebody's compound. Good morning, Olin. Good morning, Benga. Good morning.
Good morning,
Joe. I'm on the island, Lagos Island. For safety reasons, I will not mention the name of the estate where I am. And for the sake of those who live here, my neighbors, basically. But we woke up this morning and this is the reality. Bear in mind that just yesterday, a team from the Ministry of Environment were somewhere around this vicinity or this region to assess part of the work that is ongoing. Certain drains, or should I say drainage canals, were being worked, or are currently being worked upon, and they were around the area to assess the work that is ongoing. But the rains from last night, in the middle of the night, that fell continuously, gave us this view, as you see this morning. I woke up, and this is it. I would have shown you my face, but I don't have makeup on. So this is exactly what we are seeing. And this is inside of an estate. Bear in mind, this is not the outside. So most of the videos that our crew members, or rather that the reporters do around the island area, is usually on the major roads. But this is the inside of an estate where people stay. I visited another estate early this morning, or rather, I got a message from another estate. Another colleague of ours who stays somewhere there reached out to me this morning to say that their apartment was actually affected and was flooded.
That's really sad.
So some of the videos that you've been seeing online, on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, by certain content creators, they are not fake, they are not false. It's reality. This is currently what people are going through. I spoke with a neighbor just now. He didn't want to appear on camera. I could overhear him calling the schools, the school bus of his daughter's school. For those who have children, you probably will know that exams are starting today. That's another reality. That's how certain people are going to be affected. He said his daughter will not be able to go to school this morning. I think junior YE begins today. So that's another angle of the story. Not just people who are going to work who will be affected, but of course, children going to school as well. I have never seen the flood this bad, in certain areas. Again, this is the inside of an estate.
Wow.
It's for this year, it clearly is more ridiculous than has been, in my opinion.
And the rainy season is not ending anytime soon. Has the Estates Association done any communication with regards to this, and have they made any complaints to the authorities in the past?
Yes, in the past there have been complaints to the authorities. You probably have heard, several conversations about Agungi, Ajiro, Osapa, places in Lekki, like Kusenla way. So these places are joined by certain canals. It's looking like maybe, most likely, the lack of proper clearing of these canals may have caused this. Of course, we do understand that torrential rainfall for this year is a lot more than what we've seen in the previous years. But then again, these canals have to be cleared for proper passage of water. This actually is the issue. If you look further down, see if I can zoom that in for you to see, that is the actual estate gate. So if the inside is this way, getting outside, you can only imagine what it will be like.
I mean, and I'm not seeing any vehicular movement or people. It seems like the residents have resigned to fate, to just sit in and wait out the waters to recede.
It's really sad.
That is most likely what's happening at the moment. First of all, if you do attempt to make it out with a vehicle, you end up being sad for it. Clearly, your vehicle will be affected by the flood, and then you as an individual would definitely have issues making any kind of movement. It actually is really, really sad. It's not just for the parents or the people going to work, but for the children going to school as well. It clearly will be a day where many of them will not be able to make it. Particularly those writing exams, those starting junior YIK and other exams today, it definitely will be an issue for them.
All right, thank you very much, Bernard.
Thank you, Bernard. And
Hopefully,
unfortunately, News Central is yet to purchase its official helicopter. We might have come to fetch you, but just do your reports from where you are for today.
I would gladly be the first passenger, Benga.
You'll have our best wishes.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Okay, let's come back to the story about the First Lady and get the reactions of Nigerians regarding this story. And then just before we get, okay, let's take this one. Rotinkona Kulikuli has hope renewed, where drones are changing warfare, where women are leading and regional politics driving change. In a world where we are talking about how AI is changing industry, these people despise Nigerians. I'm just thinking of the wife of the German chancellor saying they have provided grants for women to start selling schnitzel and currywurst as part of the chancellor's agenda of renewed hope, El Nathan John says. The next tweet we have this morning...
In her defense, she says she wasn't referring to those people. She was talking about grassroots.
We'll still come back to talk about why that is still maybe not an excuse. Make first-class graduates go to sell akara, Abbas says. Nowhere in this video did the First Lady talk about graduates selling kulikuli. She was only highlighting what her foundation has been able to achieve, including providing grants to petty traders. There has been no talking point to hold on to, so I understand the full outrage. Whether through her foundation or her personal money, the First Lady has done well, Okpeoluwa says. We'll take comments from YouTube, but let's take 2 more tweets and then we'll go to YouTube. We are sorry, Ma. Sorry for the fact that we're ungrateful. We will start our akara and kulikuli business soon, Toby writes, says. Okay, that'll be all for X. Let's get to YouTube. On YouTube, Michael Zeus, I don't know that I can take that comment. Don't implicate me. Mr. Johnson says, we all know selling akara isn't bad, but there are different ways to that. When you're being forced to go sell akara because of the circumstances and situations of the country, which is caused by the politicians, that's where the question arises. Many of our parents have fried and sold akara. They didn't wish to, but it's because they didn't also have a choice. But telling this generation to also go with that nonsense without challenging the government is what we will not take. Frying akara in a better condition is welcome, but not this one that, President, they talk. This is 2026. Just to buttress the point he's made. I saw a video somewhere, and that made complete sense. At the time when our parents and our grandparents were frying akara, the quality of life was a lot better. It was different. There were people who trained their children to university levels by selling akara. The current reality...
Purchasing power
was a lot stronger. The current reality does not show that it is sustainable to sell akara. Are there people that will do it? Yes, they will. But unfortunately, we don't know that, that is very sustainable. Okpanachi Suleiman says it shall be well with Nigeria very soon. Everything they did to Donald J. Trump is exactly what they're doing to Peter Obi. Nothing can stop what the time has come. Okay, we'll have that conversation later. Finally, Moki Echukwemeka says, Where this video is really painful is the way people were running with the nonsense she said. No sense of reasoning for them at all. We'll take more comments as we proceed with the show. Keep the comments coming. But let's share with you what the headlines this morning are on Breakfast Central. We'll talk about the NDC registration setback and then court, and they're arguing about this. Tinubu signs NIMC Act 2026 into law. What the details of that are, what the implications of this will be. We're looking into that shortly. 2027 election funds disbursement, there have been concerns that have risen around the delayed election funds disbursement. Abia State Pipeline explosion. We're looking at Umololo residents. They're demanding government action. We'll review the newspaper front pages, and our guests will join us for that. And we'll also open the phone lines at that point. Stay with us.
The Independent National Electoral Commission says it's yet to receive the certified true copy of the recent Federal High Court judgment setting aside an earlier order relating to the registration of the Nigeria Democratic Congress. However, NDC has accused the Electoral Commission of frustrating its efforts to comply with electoral requirements by allegedly denying it the access code needed for it to upload the names of its candidates to INEC's nomination portal.
Now, according to the party, repeated attempts to obtain the necessary credentials were unsuccessful, making it impossible to complete the nomination process before the court delivered its judgment. The NDC insists that the failure to upload candidates was not due to negligence, but rather administrative delays on the part of the commission. The party has also announced plans to seek a stay of execution of the judgment while pursuing further legal action, setting the stage for what could become another significant test of the relationship between political parties, the Electoral Commission, and the courts.
Was to go to INEC and pick up our code for uploading our candidates, which is the right of the national chairman and the secretary. And I was to go on that assignment. And incidentally, they just threw this. It has not stopped me from my work. After this press conference, I'm going to INEC to pick up our code. Yes, sir. For the uploading of our candidates. So get back home and continue to do what you are doing. We are firm, we are strong. Democracy must stand. Yes. There is no amount of intimidation. We have given, and I want to repeat again, we have given Nigerians their hope. The hope of Nigeria by today, and I repeat myself, both for those in government and those in opposition, is Mr. Peter Gregory.
Joining us to talk about this drama is a member of the Nigeria Democratic Coalition, Nnamdi Dixon Urebu. Thank you very much, Nnamdi Dixon Urebu, for joining us this morning. Mazi. Sorry, thank you very much. We, of course, have the NDC, the Nigeria Democratic Congress, and the question now is, what is the legal status of your party? Even though, yes, the latest we hear is that the court has set aside the judgment that gave legitimacy to your party. But in practical terms, what is the legal status of the NDC? Is it a registered party or not?
Party with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. And the NDC is a party that is, in fact, the fastest growing political party in the whole of West Africa today is the Nigeria Democratic Congress, because just within 5 months of its registration, the most discussed political party in Nigeria today is the NDC. And it remains so. Yes, a judgment came from some interlopers on Friday. And one wondered who is afraid of the rise, the emergence of this vista of hope for the Nigerian people, that is the NDC. Who is afraid of it? Who is afraid of NDC being on the ballot? And of course, the usual suspects, those who have refused to appreciate the fact that Nigerians can no longer tolerate the shortcomings of the current administration, the ineptitude of the current administration. Those who have refused to understand that their days are numbered in the villa are, of course, the usual suspects who, rather than face the contest for 2027, they want a coronation. The current administration, led by Tinubu, wants to be a sole candidate in the contest for 2027, and it will not happen. So the NDC is, as it is, the political party that is about to give the Nigerian people a new direction, because we cannot continue the way it is.
Now, senior members of your party did say that INEC denied its
Code.
the code for it to upload its candidates. What do you make of this? What's INEC's official response?
I don't think that is the challenge that only the NDC currently is facing. I think other political parties also are facing it. The last time I read a release from PRP, ADC is the same position. However, we understand our case. Of course, being that judgment came on Friday, it's expected that INEC will be expecting to have the CTC to now enable it act. But I wonder why INEC in the first place should even be waiting for anything that will come from someone, a party, an entity that it does not have any of its record. The Peace Movement Party, so-called, does not exist anywhere. It's not a registered political party. That is the party, the people that went to court and obtained that nonsense judgment that they got on Friday. I wonder why INEC would be waiting to hear or get any CTC copy from such an organization that does not have its stamp of recognition. This is not a registered political party in Nigeria, neither is it a registered NGO in Nigeria. So anybody can wake up and say the APC is no longer supposed to be recognized by INEC, and INEC will be listening to it. But like I said earlier, we know the usual game that the current administration has been playing. They have followed the hope of the Nigerian people, Mr. Peter Obi, to everywhere he goes. If you recall, even when we joined the NDC, on that very day that the candidate of the presidential candidate of the NDC, joined the NDC, he, of course, told the Nigerian people that, yes, they have followed us everywhere, but just like he assured that he's going to be on the ballot and that they should not come here, which is the NDC. Unknown to us that, like the prophecy that was declared that day, they didn't go to sleep because they didn't expect, the ruling party that are so afraid of Mr. Peter Obi, didn't expect the kind of surge that the Nigerian people gave to NDC and all of that. And that is why they are making this move to distract and probably to shift our focus away from our winning ways that we are putting together, because the strategy towards the victory for 2027 is where we are, focusing on. And that cannot change. So for us, quickly, we will stay focused. And we will ensure that INEC will recognize everything that it should recognize from the NDC. The portal that has not been, the code that has not been given to the leadership of the NDC is simply an administrative thing. Of course, the party has already gone to court to get a stay of execution, and of course appeal that nonsense judgment that came on Friday. So no need to be disturbed at all. Personally, I am not disturbed as a member of the party. I see it as one of those hurdles that we would have to cross to ensure victory for 2027. All of those other delays and attempts to distract and all that, it will crumble. Be rest assured, it will crumble. Peter Obi will be on the ballot. NDC will be on the ballot, and that won't shift.
Mazi,
those of us who are also aspirants, who are expecting that the party, because I am an aspirant, if you recall, I'm an aspirant for
Yes, I wanted to follow up on the status, because the last time we spoke, I wanted to follow up on the status of not just you, quite a number of NDC aspirants. I did contest in the primaries, and a number of them were not happy with the conduct of the primary elections, the way they went, undue influence and corruption. What's the latest with that? And when is the leadership giving a final judgment and decision? When will they release a list of all the candidates aspiring for office in your party?
Like I said the last time I appeared on this show, there was no primaries in my state, Imo State. Yes, indeed, a lot of us are aggrieved. A lot of aspirants are not excited about how a lot of administrative angles within the party was handled, but we understand, being a young party and of course with the very harsh schedule of INEC and all of that, the party had to struggle to ensure that it did meet up with the timetable as INEC had already announced and all of that. And then internally, the party is also the party leadership. In fact, I had a meeting with the national leader yesterday, and he assured that all of our aggrieved members of the party should shoot their swords and realize that, of course, there's only one person that will get the ticket for any of the constituencies or senatorial positions or governorship positions or House of Assembly positions. However, that all concerns raised by aspirants has been well captured, and that the focus should be on the big picture. And that is what we expected him to say as the national leader of the party. Of course, a reconciliatory move is also being activated. Committee, like he assured me yesterday, is being set up to ensure that all aggrieved aspirants, are brought on board, and that we realize that the mission is not just particularly about anybody's aspiration, particularly, but about ensuring that we save our country and give a new direction for the egalitarian expectation of the Nigerian state, because we are currently, I think, at the lowest ebb of nationhood as anybody can imagine it. Nigeria cannot, Nigerians cannot wait to get out of the current mess we found ourselves. So all of us, where necessary, will make the sacrifices where necessary, as long as the party does the right things. I expect that aggrieved aspirants will come on board to join our candidate, especially the presidential candidate and his vice, Mr. Peter Obi and Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, and other possible candidates that will emerge from the party. We will support each other to ensure that this party, is upheld, and the new vista of hope that is, available is given to the Nigerian people. Yes, a lot of us are aggrieved, but like I said, of course, it's not final yet until all aspirants' name or candidates' names are uploaded on the INEC portal. That's
all right, let's talk about this candidate's name. Let's talk about this candidate's name being uploaded on the INEC portal. Earlier when you were speaking, you said you're not afraid, you're not worried, because you believe that His Excellency Peter Obi's name will be on the ballot come 2027. But you are not worried when you were with the PDP, and we saw what has happened with the PDP, and we've seen a pattern in Nigeria. We've seen the Labour Party implode. We've seen the ADC being destabilized, and now the NDC being hit with the registration threat. How certain are you that, all three parties, I must mention, being mentioned earlier, are linked to Peter Obi? How certain are you that he will certainly survive this in terms of being able to make it to the polls? And from all indication, who would you say is behind this?
No, it's the usual suspect. It's the APC administration. There's no need beating about the bush. The Tinubu leadership is afraid of his own shadows, haven't failed woefully. So how sure are we? How certain are we that Mr. Peter Obi and indeed the NDC is going to be on the ballot? Of course, 100%. Yes, you may have referred to what PDP state was, and of course, I don't regret the trajectory of my political engagements. PDP, I gave all of, every of my political understanding to ensuring that we did the right things. The party is going through maybe a re-engineering process, because those who have hijacked it from the other end, that is the Yenson Wiko group and all of that, it's just a matter of time. It's simply because they are the ones in government now. And because every form of political rascality has now been upheld by the current administration, that is why the PDP is said to be going through what it's going through. Of course, I stood with the authentic PDP at the time I was still with the PDP. The Labour Party went through its own crisis. Of course, also we know the usual suspects were behind that crisis. And of course, immediately Mr. Peter Obi moved away from the LP. We have seen semblance of the cohesion or togetherness in the party. He also moved into the ADC, and the ADC started experiencing its own crisis and all of that, and now the NDC. We are certain that anarchy, except, of course, this government is attempting to activate anarchy, haven't failed woefully. Maybe the Tinubu administration just wants to activate anarchy in our country. If they try in any way to stop the Nigerian people from saving themselves, well, now only tree they will tell, say they will cut them down tomorrow, and the tree will still stand there. The Nigerian people will not sit back and wait for Tinubu and his group of failed leaders or failed administrators to finally destroy our country and possibly extinguish all of us. We will save ourselves. So I don't accept they are calling for anarchy, and I hope that that is not the plan. Because if not, what is the fear? Why are they afraid of Mr. Peter Obi? Who is afraid of Mr. Peter Obi? I think journalists should be asking the question by now. All of some kind of a special reportage should be made about this chase against one person. We've never seen it this bad, where a ruling party is afraid of a man who appears very harmless. All that Mr. Peter Obi insists, is for us to have a new Nigeria. He insists that a new Nigeria is possible because that the present state of our country cannot be said to be sustainable. Are we proud of the state of Nigeria insecurity-wise? Are we proud of the state of Nigeria, the economy of our country and all of that? This lack of direction of the current administration of our country and all of that, are we proud of it? No. No Nigerian is proud of the current state of our country. So a man so harmless, who relates with everybody as though he were to be a reverend father. Because sometimes I say to him, Mr. Peter Obi, that, sir, you probably may have missed your calling. Because maybe by your approach to politics in Nigeria, maybe you needn't be part of this country, but he is part of Nigeria. So that is why he has insisted that he will give everything possible to ensure that we secure a working nation, a productive nation, not a consumption-based nation and all of that. That is what Mr. Peter Obi stands for. And I don't know why the government, rather than even see him possibly as someone that can be reached out to where they have missed direction, where they have shown cluelessness, this man is showing you every way possible how to govern, how to put the interest of the Nigerian people first. Rather than learn from him, rather than bring him on board and partner him for the good of our country, the government is doing everything possible to witch hunt, to put him down, to ensure that he's not on the ballot. But like I have stated, we, the Nigerian people, who are very determined to save our country, will not sit back and watch the Tinubu administration to push the Nigerian state to anarchy state. We will not sit back and watch that. So we will do everything possible to stay with our party, the NDC, to stay and support our candidate at the presidential level, that's the presidential candidate and the vice presidential candidate, and every other candidate that will emerge from our party, and ensure that we'll go to the polls and win. And that is what we are expecting in January 2027.
Thank you very much, Mazi Dixon Oriegbo. On this platform, when we've posed these questions to stalwarts of the APC, they've denied the presidency having any hands in the internal affairs of other parties. That's
they can
the
deny.
natural
They
response.
can deny for all we care.
Unfortunately,
we have seen it play out over and over again. Nigerians are not stupid people. We're not foolish people. What they have even done.
Unfortunately,
what they have even done,
we're out of time. Yes, and we need to wrap up this conversation now. Thank you so much. We'll continue to monitor the situation, and we would extend our invitation to you once again if we have any new developments with regards to this matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're watching Breakfast Central. Coming up next, we will be looking at President Tinubu signing NIMC Act 2026 into law. Concerns also rise over delayed election funds disbursement to INEC, and stakeholders hail progress made in securing Kogi West. Do stay with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has signed the National Identity Management Commission Act 2026 into law. This landmark legislation repeals the 2007 Act and establishes NIMC as Nigeria's root certification authority, strengthening the country's digital identity ecosystem, cybersecurity framework, and national security. The Act reinforces the national identification number as the single source of truth for identity verification under the principle of one person, one identity. It's a bold step toward digital transformation and improved governance.
Beyond the headlines, this law has far-reaching implications from border control and financial inclusion to the fight against terrorism. The NIMC Act 2026 is designed to close critical gaps in Nigeria's identity management system. Already, integration of NIMC's database with immigration records has led to the arrest of Boko Haram and ISWAP commanders returning from pilgrimage. But while the government touts this as a win for national security, questions remain about data privacy, implementation capacity, and whether ordinary Nigerians will truly benefit from this digital overhaul.
The Senate, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, the distinguished members of the National Assembly, the Honorable Minister of Interior, the Honorable Minister of Justice, and the Attorney General of the Federation, our development partners, the World Bank, stakeholders, and the dedicated staff of NIMC, whose collective efforts have made this achievement very possible. As a commission, we remain committed to implementing this act with transparency, professionalism, innovation, and the highest standards of data protection and service delivery. We will continue to work tirelessly to ensure that every Nigerian and legal resident benefits from a secure, inclusive, and efficient digital identity ecosystem. Once again, I thank you, Mr. President, for this historic gift to Nigeria and to generations yet unborn. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
I know sometimes ago the Senate President said something on the floor of the Senate that some people went on pilgrimage, some terrorists and etc. That how did they cross our borders? Because what we inherited was a fractured system. But I'm happy to tell you that even last week, Thursday, 7 of the known commanders of Boko Haram and ISWAP, at the point of coming back, were arrested at in Katsina at the airport and were handed over to the DSS. And this is only possible because NIMC's ID is already connected with the immigration database and is already speaking to even the I-247, Interpol I-247. And we have been able to automate this, and with the new IOC that the Ministry of Interior has built, which is the first time in the history of Nigeria that will be having an integrated operating center managing our internal security processes. All our maritime and our air border system has been fully controlled, and that was evident last week.
Now, join us this morning on Breakfast Central for this very important conversation. We have financial analyst Carlo Aja and Bemshima Peter, a software engineer and CEO Devon Technologies. A warm welcome to you, gentlemen, and thanks for joining us on the program this morning.
Hello, glad to be here.
Now, I'd like to start off with Bemshima. The 2007 Act was repealed, and we now have the 2026 NIMC Act. What upgrades and differences do we have in this 2026 Act, and how revolutionary is it?
So before I start, I think I'd want to start with what an act is, right? It's just a list of rules that defines how things should be done. Now, an act could be for road, could be for real estate, it could be for anything. It's just something that defines, a standard process that defines how businesses and the government can work. Now, one of the big flaws of the 2007 Act is this. It was weak, it was fragmented, and it was difficult to verify citizens at scale. Now, here's a typical example. If you're trying to access a financial service, you need to provide your BVN. For just a customer, that financial service or that financial institution would need to perform 4 or 5 or 6 verifications just to show that this person is who they say they are. Now, the new Act completely bridges that entire gap. So it's going to be one source that you can use to verify a person's identity, one true source that you can use to verify a person's identity. Now, the impact of this is both good and, would I say bad? But the impact is more spread across board. So there's immediate benefits. There's also implications to it because the Act itself contains how certain data breaches are handled and the penalties for even this breach, right? So it's going to change the way, help over 36 million Nigerians that don't have access to financial services to get these financial services, but as well, curb down security, which we've already seen from the ISWAP leaders that were captured recently.
Bring Kalu Aja into the conversation. Let's talk about what the practicality of this is. It's now designed, or NIMC is now designated as Nigeria's root identification or certification authority. In practical terms, what does this mean for the average Nigerian who's watching this and thinking, what concerns me? It's just that every day they will tell me NIN, BVN, several registration or data identification means that's been required. How does this impact the everyday average Nigerian?
Well, it's a big deal, like your guest has said earlier. If you have to do something 7 times, now you have to do it only once. That's a drop in the costs of doing business in Nigeria, which then means that if you're a financial services provider or you are a customer, right, your cost of onboarding to access finance has dropped. So look at it this way. In the past, if you had to take a loan in Nigeria, you have no collateral and they can't identify who you are. So they charge you either a higher interest rate because they don't know who you are. They have to bridge their risk. But now, because they can identify who you are, then the cost of capital should start to come down because that admin bottleneck has sort of gone off. If you want to access a document, your passport, your driver's license, all issued by various Nigerian institutions are now verified at one source. So cost of doing business falls, cost of capital basically falls. And again, this Nigerian fintech will then become more attractive to investors worldwide because now Nigeria has sort of become, should we say, we've crossed that barrier where we can identify who the actual users are. We know who they are. We know how much they earn. So you're investing in something that's more secured. That makes our investment story much, much better and palatable. For the common man, essentially, you want to go to travel. You have your passport, your BVN, your NIN, and the rest. Now you just have one. With your NIN phone or with your NIN number, you're able to access services across the Nigerian framework. So it's much, much better for you, cheaper for the businesses, and of course, better for Nigeria as a whole.
Thank you, Kalu. Bemshima, what safeguards should we see put in place against identity theft and cybercrime under this new act? Does it also guarantee that our data, the data privacy aspect of it? Because we've seen breaches in the past from NIMC, and that's a cause for concern among Nigerians.
Now, the Act, again, is a framework that helps address these things. That doesn't mean that the implementation of this framework is completed. Now, here are some stats to that. As of late last year, about 76%, 74% of Nigerian adults had financial services or financially included, right? Now, if you look into that number clearly, it drops down to 64%. So it means 36% on the other side actually don't have this. Now, the Act states how it should be done. Execution is what would make the difference. Execution in what sense? How easy NIMC's infrastructure can businesses connect to, how scalable they are, and how reliable they are. That truly is what will make the impact of the Act worth it.
All right. Just to also bring Ekalu into the conversation, talking about the fear of identity theft, because that's another issue that was looked at. I want us to dig deeper into that. In situations where now it's become this central body, you have your NIN, and that's the primary means of identification. What happens when someone's identity has been stolen? Are we at risk of identity theft, following the trajectory of what you know about NIMC and our country and how we've handled data? Also, concerns of data privacy as well, or our data getting into the wrong hands. Is that something we should be worried about?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, I was shocked to find that you could have multiple name numbers. I was surprised to find out that was possible because we had biometrics. But I think with this new law, because it's one central body, it's just maybe one gate to guard. So it's easier, or should we say it's less risky with this new amendment to basically ensure data privacy. Also in the law, they've built a lot of safeguards, penalties, fees, and fines. If you take someone's data without permission, if you use it without authorization, those things are now built in here with stringent, penalties for misuse of data. And it's big. Look at credit. If you're a bank, it's possible to go with different names and get different credits from different banks because you can have this passport or that ID. So now with this, they tag you. It's one person, one number. That's it. One person, one number, like a social security number. You can't really change it. You can't move around with it. So if you are a creditor and you want to borrow money, you know that who is coming to you is who the person really is. So just think of what that does to credit in Nigeria. We can identify who you are by not just your name, but by your number. So we have Nigerians, lots of Nigerians have maybe similar names. That's all going to change now. So when we know who you are, we can identify who you are uniquely. It also allows us to then say that unique identification cannot then be used, so we say, duplicated elsewhere. You can't be in Kano and your information is used in, say, Aba, because that unique ID will sort of stop that fraud from occurring. Unlike the past, where if I maybe use a passport here or use another document here, I can get the same services in the same country and from the same government. So that helps us operationally in Nigeria, as it were.
Now, Kalu, staying with you, let's talk about the security aspect of it, because the Minister of Interior did tout one of the results of this newly improved system in arresting ISWAP and Boko Haram wanted financiers. Looking at what the government has said and looking at the reality and practicality of it, and not just the government making it sound like campaign sound bites, how practical would this be in revolutionizing war against insecurity? Because we have bandits on TikTok doing giveaways, we have them showing their faces, we have them communicating in real time, and it seems, the government is helpless in getting their positions, even with all this open communication. So what would this change?
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like Mr. already said when we had the intro, because they had this in place, they were able to identify who those gentlemen were. From what I understand, those guys had passports with a different name. But with the new system, we're able to integrate and see that, listen, these names that these guys are presenting are not the person that are in front of us. That was a trigger, and then more investigation, and then they got arrested. But let's even bring it practically now. In the United States, for instance, when your car is pulled over, they can read your number plate and know who's in the car, or read your number plate and know maybe where you work. So the idea of tinted glasses or actually physically checking someone, right? If the data is all connected, you can read someone's the number plate, right? And know who owns the car and determine where the car is going to, for instance. That helps with kidnappings and all that kind of stuff, right? If you walk into those guys that you talk about on TikTok, once we can get the face, then we can tag that person. then forever and ever we can know who that person is. If tomorrow in 5 years tries to open a bank account or to buy a house or to travel by air, we can know exactly who that person is. I've seen folks that maybe said they were captured outside the conflict zone in a normal environment, maybe trying to go to the hospital. With this now, once you are tagged and your face identified, say on social media, they can tag you and say, this person is this person. And if you ever try to do any services, get a bank loan, board an aircraft, get a national ID, they can know exactly who you are. So the implications, the good implications are immense for national security for Nigeria, because we've now brought everything into one roof and we're going to manage that data, I hope, properly. Like the gentleman I said at the beginning, it's how we implement it that's going to be key, not just the announcement, but how it's implemented.
I want to follow up to something you said before we go to Peter in our studio in Abuja. If now we're seeing the impact of this in catching terrorists, why did this not exist about 10 years ago, and who bears the responsibility for that gap?
I mean, they told us 10 years ago that NIN will solve all this. We had BVN and NIN, who are tied to biometrics, that once you have your NIN and your BVN, and it's tied to your biometrics, that you can't get two of them. That's what we were told 10 years ago. They're just using your numbers. So again, we hope that this time it is really going to be implemented. I remember doing a national ID 25 or so years ago, and we're told the exact same thing. You have a national ID, everyone has a national ID, so you're going to use it to do all government services and to stop most of this stuff. Again, it's down to implementation. If it's done properly, like how they have abroad and all that, then it works. If it's done haphazardly, then it doesn't work.
All right, let's now go to our guest in Abuja, Peter. Millions of Nigerians are still without NIN, and if the NIN has now become the central identification authority, how does this benefit these people in the underserved communities? How do they get access? Would you say that this includes them, or does this exclude them? And can this also help boost foreign investors' confidence that will yield more investments for our country? So it's sort of a two-question in one.
The Act itself enables more things to be done. Previously, NIN enrollment was at local government level, thereabout. But now, NIMC have accredited agents, right, NGOs and the rest of that takes registration or enrollment from local government organizations down to the world. So that means, okay, I'll give an example. In 2021, there was a 58 years old woman that was supposed to have access to COVID-19 relief fund. Now, because she didn't have an NIN or BVN, she was excluded from a fund that was meant to serve her, right? Now, with the movement of taking registration or enrollment from the LGA down to the communities, these people can actually get registered. When they get registered, the implication of that is they can be verified by these professional institutions, banks, financial services, and the rest of that. So the 36 million we saw before would gradually, depending on implementation speed, will gradually reduce. Or reduce. That means more persons can have access to financial services. Now, the other side to it is when you centralize things, you have something called the central point of entry. Central point of entry means central point of breakage, right? So that is a lot of responsibility on NIMC. And it is very important, while the Act states that, or the Act accommodates for breach in data privacy and the rest of that, NIMC also has a lot of work to do. First of all, getting people on board or enrolling people, the remaining persons that are there, because once they're enrolled, they have financial services. But most importantly, having processes, clear processes to communicate if such a thing as breach, if such a thing as a breach exists or happens, they should have a way properly documented and communicated. So it's not about having the rule. It's about having the rule and having the average Nigeria understand that rule. These things form trusts that investors would look at. When an investor is trying to look into an economy, right, they want to know who they are dealing with. They want to know that the economy is stable enough for their money, right? They want to see that they know who's there. They want to be sure that digital infrastructure already exists. Now, the Act puts us in that pace of getting to that infrastructure, but we are still in progress. It's still a work in progress. Now, that work in progress is what we've seen where enrollment moves from LGAs down to wards. So while we build on this, investors will keep watching. Again, it is execution that really determines. So this is Nigeria. We have a history of having legislatures, acts, and the rest of that. But the execution and implementation of those acts has also been something that has been questioned over time. And there are stats to actually verify or back this up. So while the act is good, execution needs to work, and it needs to attend to the average Nigerian, meet them where they are.
Thank you very much, Bemshima. Now, back to you, Kalu. Quite a number of Nigerians are concerned that, you know, how serious this is with regards to national security and also our sovereignty, that if you're going to have a harmonized data pool and everyone's details in just in one location, where should ideally the data be housed? Because the Central Bank of Nigeria, as we currently speak, has written to banks and said that, look, all their data that is warehoused abroad, they should look for data centers in Nigeria as a matter of independence to house them here. Would it be safer in Nigeria? Why is it important to have those data centers and storage in our country? Because it's information, critical national security information about Nigerian citizens. I mean, the logical thing is to have them in Nigeria. Are we also looking at that?
Well, I mean, it's going to be the same hardware we're going to buy. It's the same servers, the same optic fibers. The difference is going to be the personnel, the human personnel that's going to be behind that hardware. And that's where the test really comes, you know. Data is information, you know. So if we have good personnel and we're able to follow the letter of the law, as is in that, not just this guideline, but any other information security guideline, we're fine. But it always comes down to the personnel executing the strategy of the policy of the federal government of Nigeria. That's where it all starts to break down. So hopefully we're able to then imbibe what is written on paper and practicalize it, and then the issues that don't come up. I know where we're all going to, what we're thinking about, but it's a good law to say house all your data in the country. It's the same data, software, and hardware. I mean, in the end, it's going to be down to the people. If I saw a story a few days ago where someone's INEC information was plastered on social media by someone that is close to the government. So how are we sure that this will not happen if we move them into Nigeria? But then again, if it's moved offshore, how are you sure that it's going to be protected and all that? So the answer is down to the humans, the Nigerians that are going to manage this policy, how professional they are. And if they are professional, we'll see the effect. If they are not, it will lose hope and trust, and people are going to leave. In the end, people vote with their feet. If people like something, they gravitate towards it. If they don't, there will be many of this citizens plan that have not panned out because people just don't trust it. So let's hope this one turns out for the better. That's just what we'll have to say on this.
All right, we're going on a very quick break. When we come back, we will have a conversation about this, and then we'll find a way to wrap things up. Thank you very much. Right, welcome back to Breakfast Central. Let's now continue the conversation as we gradually start to wrap up. Let's bring in Mr. Kalu Aja. Let's talk about how this links to building $1 trillion economy, because we've heard that for the longest time about how this current administration were looking to build $1 trillion economy. How does this tie into that vision?
Number one is taxes. Number two is the new economy, fintech driving the new economy. This, because it's now one person, one number, that means it's easier to tax the economy, right? Or to tax you, in essence. So we can link you to your bank account, to your import duties, to your dollar acquisition, to your consumption, to your profit. We can link all that now, and we can tax you, and the government can create more revenues that can then drive investments in the country. That's one way of looking at it. The second, if you look at the Nigerian economy, the new economy is IT, or IT-driven services. Banking is growing very, very fast. Financial services is growing very, very fast. Not a big contributor to the economy, but the speed of growth is growing very fast. So imagine if we doubled not just the growth of banking, but also the base of banking. So more Nigerians were able to come into the financial sector, not just through banks, but through insurance companies, through fintech, through non-traditional investment that can come in, verify Nigerian, give a Nigerian credit that he can then consume and grow the GDP of the country. That's what this is going to do. Because now, once you can link up to NIMC, not just loans, your C of O, your contracts, passports, anything that is secure or needs to be verified can be verified. So imagine Nigeria whereby once you are online or you are on a fintech app that is registered in Nigeria, you can transact without fear of duplication, that this person you are dealing with is who this person says it is. So two guys in Kano and Kaduna can trade online because they now trust each other because they both have digital certificates that show you can trust them. So that grows the economy as well. So this is like a plumbing to that ₦1 trillion economy that we want to have. We can't have a $1 trillion economy if we don't have a trustworthy, credible way of transacting business and also taxing individuals. So this is the right policy to take us there. Again, implementation is going to be key for us to get there.
Thank you, Kalu. And Peter, as we wrap up, what lessons should Nigeria learn from past failures in identity management to ensure the implementation of this act really takes positive effect?
First would be enrollment. It should be of priority. So enrollment should be of priority. That should be one of the things that is implemented alongside. The second would be providing the infrastructure that we need to run. So here's what I mean. We're looking toward building a $1 trillion economy, and that would require trust, digital identity that is verifiable. If that exists, it means there are some hardware resources that was mentioned before that these things need to run on. These hardware resources actually run on electricity. Electricity is also something that is a problem, correct? So if this needs to go, the infrastructure needs to be there to ensure that the identity is easily verified. Enrollment should be top priority, as well as enforcing accountability. All right. So these things would help move the entire process from just an act to something that transforms into a better economy, as where we are headed to.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We do hope that the positive expectations of what the impact of this will be is what we see. Like we see, often they argue about the dangers of centralized power. And having this, from our history, we can see that the hope is that we don't see an abuse of this authority and power that has been centralized into one system. Thank you so much for joining us this morning,
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, have a good one.
You as well. Days after the oil pipeline explosion in Umololo community, Owaza, in Ukwa West local government area of Abia State, residents say while the immediate danger has been contained, that the devastating consequences remain, with farmlands destroyed, homes affected, and the environment polluted. Many are demanding urgent intervention. And News Central's Chinwe Ugele brings us more in this report.
Too much. So I now wake up. As I wake up, came outside, all my body was oil. So I was trying to take my family out.
In Umololo community, farmlands that once sustained families are now coated with crude oil, leaving many residents fearful that the land may remain unsuitable for farming for years.
So when I lived here, I could not even know my farm again. I couldn't even enter with them boots, because of the level of the oil. Now I'm just, somehow hopeless because those things have been destroyed.
Some homes also bear visible signs of the spillage, forcing families to confront the scale of the destruction. Although the company responsible for the pipeline has contained the spill and covered the damaged section, residents say no relief materials, compensation or support have reached affected families.
What we are saying is for them to come and help us. That is the only thing. Both our houses, our crops and everything.
Both the cassava, the corn, the vegetables,
That is what we use in feeding ourselves. So now that the government, that this oil have destroyed them, we are stranded.
Beyond the visible damage, concerns are mounting over the long-term environmental and health implications of the pollution. Residents fear contaminated soil could pose lasting risks to their livelihoods and well-being.
The smoke was too much, because the next day, some of our kids, we are coughing.
Community leaders are urging the company and relevant government agencies to undertake a comprehensive environmental cleanup, assess the full extent of the damage, and adequately compensate victims.
That pipe we have already condemned is a failure pipe, because you have already taken and put that pipe, and that pipe need to change. Since 1958, that pipe was there.
So mainly the company that their oil did this thing, they will look at us, because we cannot, this is where we feed from.
The Commissioners for Environment and Petroleum, Philemon Asonye and Joel Obunna, visited the site within 24 hours of the incident. However, residents say the government's promises are yet to translate into meaningful action.
So they say that they have talked with the company, that company will take care of us and see what they will do to relocate some people that are nearby, and they bring some palliative, but up to now we never see anything.
For the people of Umololo, the pipeline explosion is no longer just about containing an oil spill. It is a story of disrupted livelihoods, environmental uncertainty, and a community still waiting for justice and lasting intervention. In Abia for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Says residents across the state's 17 local government areas will benefit from improved security and grassroots development through stronger collaboration among traditional rulers, security agencies and local government councils. The Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Ephraim Usman, made this known during a press conference in Jos to mark his reappointment as Commissioner. Usman said the ministry will strengthen efforts to deliver on its mandate by improving security coordination and ensuring residents benefit from ongoing development projects being executed by local government chairmen, many of which are set for commissioning. He added that existing programs will be strengthened, identified lapses will be addressed to promote sustainable development across the state.
The traditional institutions at this material point in time with this issue of insecurity, we are going to look into that very well to see how we can be able to liaise with the traditional institutions to curb the menace of this insecurity that has bedeviled us not only in Plateau State, in the country at large. We are going to give in more to see how we can be able to deliver the dividends of democracy to the grassroots. You know, this ministry is locally based, like I always tell people, it's community based. It has to do with rural people, and by the grace of God, the experience I have gotten before I left on the 16th of March and coming back to this place, we are going to continue exactly from where we stopped and to improve. Now we'll take permission to see how I can be able to go around the 17 local governments and see what the local government chairman has started doing right from while I was in office, and to see the level of work, because I know some of them have done excellently well within their local government, and the projects that are ready to be commissioned will commission it. The ones that will inspect it, and the ones that maybe they are lacking will encourage them to improve on what they have started. But I want to assure you that none of these 17 local government before I left was doing below average.
You're watching Breakfast Central on News Central Television. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, we have more in store for you. Do stay with us.
Major political parties have expressed concern about the delayed release of funds to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, ahead of the 2027 general elections, warning that it could disrupt procurement timelines, weaken public confidence, and affect the credibility of the polls. The concerns followed comments by INEC National Commissioner for Voter Education and Publicity, Mohammed Haruna, who disclosed that the Commission had yet to receive budgetary releases for the elections, despite already commencing preparations in line with the Electoral Act. INEC plans to procure new BVAS machines, conduct mock presidential elections to test its technology, and avoid the repeat of the glitches experienced during the 2023 polls.
Opposition parties, including the African Democratic Congress, People's Democratic Party, PDP, and the Nigerian Democratic Congress, NDC, warned that delayed funding could threaten election planning and integrity, while observers, including Yaga Africa, cautioned that late disbursements could expose the process to undue influence. However, INEC dismissed concerns, insisting that funding follows a phased release structure and that preparations remain on schedule. The ruling All Progressive Congress also expressed confidence that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu would ensure the Commission receives the resources required to conduct credible elections. Join us this morning to discuss this. We're joined by Executive Director of Electoral College Nigeria, Kunle Lawal. One welcome to you, Kunle, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Binga.
Now, INEC, the electoral umpire, says there's no cause for alarm. But if funding has not been released and procurement is already supposed to be on the way, are Nigerians being reassured? Are we making a mountain out of a molehill, or there's no cause for alarm?
Okay, so first and foremost, the Electoral Act clearly states that funds must be released to INEC 6 months preceding an election. If this is not done, that means we've already broken, which is actually law. So government is mandated. It's not requisitory. It's mandatory. So the fact that it's not being done is a cause for concern. And then considering that INEC is taking its time to make changes, and meaning new BVAS machines, trying for the first time to have a mock presidential election sequence preceding the election to stop sequences and etc. Then I think government is getting in the way of INEC by not releasing those funds. And if these are not done, then we probably might see the same thing we saw in 2023 and have the same petitions and court cases like we always have.
All right, given the controversy surrounding the 2023 elections, this delayed funding, would you see it as a bureaucratic issue or a potential political red flag? And now the issues that we saw, the glitches that were announced in 2023, how do we ensure that we don't see a repeat of that in these 2027 elections?
So for me, I would look at it as a red flag as regards a bureaucratic issue, because law already allows the government, it's already mandatory. So it's a bureaucratic issue, which I think isn't really fair to everyone in the system, because observers, people in the civic space, people also within other political parties apart from the incumbent, will think it's a game played by the incumbent party. Now, as regards the glitches in 2023, of course, everybody wants better elections. Everybody wants more secure elections. Everybody wants an election you can trust. I would say trust is the biggest currency in a democracy. So if the funds are not released, if INEC, who has proposed, mock trials before the elections in 2027, if the funds are released too late for that, the blame will be on the incumbent government or on the incumbent party on trying to rig the system from being totally foolproof, because the more foolproof we make our system, the better people will trust it. So if that trust is taken away or eroded by financial obligations that are already mandated to INEC, then it's going to be a serious problem.
Now, Kunle, you've been in this space for quite some time. You've monitored a number of elections. You've participated. And this is set to be the most expensive election in the history of our dear nation. We're looking at upwards of 800 billion naira, almost getting to a trillion naira. Is this a guarantee for a better election? The fact that it's this expensive and we're investing in technology and all of this, would it guarantee a better, free and fair outcome?
No, I don't think so. I've always thought Nigeria's election is a little bit too expensive. Now, if you look at Nigeria has about 174,000 polling units. You look at India that has about 1 million. India has 1 million polling units, a little over 1 million. If you change our currency, that's the amount we're going to spend close to $1 trillion in this election. Let's just say roughly $1 billion. India doesn't spend that much, and India allows e-voting by its citizens in foreign lands who go to their embassies and etc. So I think generally Nigerian, and I think that's where the problem is. Our elections are too expensive, and because they are too expensive and also too expensive to participate in, hence the criminalities and the misdemeanors that go on in our elections. Because if you didn't spend so much money, you wouldn't be a do or die affair. So I roughly think that the amount to spend on our elections clearly are far more than we're supposed to spend. It doesn't guarantee that we're going to have better elections. And thirdly, the reason our election is so fought fiercely, tooth and nail, winner takes it all, is because we spend so much in the elections and spend so much participating in the elections.
Why is it so expensive, though?
Politics is business in Nigeria. It's no longer, and it's a business by everyone in the situation. Political parties make it a business. I always juxtapose with other countries and say, in Nigeria, you cannot. A senator in Nigeria can employ a senator in the US as an aide based on cost of elections. You can't even compare governors in the US and governors in Nigeria. But the costs are too high. They're totally outrageous.
The quality of life does not reflect the amount we spend in politicking and also organizing elections. So there's a dysfunction somewhere.
Like I said, it's a business, and the fact it's a business. So I'll give an example. It looks good when we blame political parties and etc. But the people too are also just as guilty. And if I'm a politician and I've been in these shoes before, if I'm a politician and I say I want to build a website that's supposed to cost, let's say, roughly 600, 800,000, you will be charging me 3.2 million. Happens the same across media, across everything. So we make our politics expensive. We made it that way. We have turned politics into a business in Nigeria. And for me, that is the main problem in why we can't have exactly free and fair elections. Because of the amount of money that has gone into it, people will do anything to ensure or safeguard their investments.
Whilst we're talking about free and fair elections and what are some of the stumbling blocks to us having free, fair, credible elections in Nigeria, is it maybe time again to bring up the conversation about whether keeping INEC financially dependent on the executive compromises the perception of its independence?
INEC, so even the way INEC is structured is a little, complex. So INEC's funding is based on the executive. INEC's operational functions are placed under the purview of the National Assembly. So it's half here, half there. It's not even clear cut. I don't, even the name independent, I don't know what's really independent about it. Because when you look at it, it's dependent on the legislative for its laws and its directions and how things happen. Then it's dependent on the executive for its financing and the appointment of its chairman. So it's quite a web of ifs and maybes, dependent on so it relies more on branches of government than it does rely on the people of the country or on the state itself.
All right, and then let's also talk about the role that the citizens have to play. As we count down to the elections, there's still the CRV exercise going on up until the 10th of July. When you see as many people as are saying, go get your PVCs, you still see those who say, I'm not interested because at the end of the day, my voting will not count. What role do the citizens have to play in ensuring that we have free, fair, and credible elections?
Well, I always say this, and I always say this clearly, that if you don't engage politics, politics will engage you. To engage you in the market, to engage you in insecurity, to engage you anyhow you want it. Even when if you decide to japa and you want to renew your Nigerian passport, or you want to even engage at it will engage you. So it's a constitutional right, it's not a choice. I don't know how it wasn't imputed into us as kids that it is mandatory, it's not self-selection. And I think where the problem always lies is that everybody thinks politics starts at elections. No, it doesn't. I've never been one of those who supported only just the PVC drive. My conversation has always been join a political party, be part of a political party, progress within a political party, do things within the political party. That's what I think we should be projecting. The truth is, we spent so much time just projecting get a PVC. Nigeria, as of 2023, had about 93 million people who had collected their PVCs. Only 27 million, about roughly, participated in elections, which is roughly less than between 26 and 25 point something percent. Last time we had a 50% participation in our elections was 2015. And there wasn't so much of a PVC drive. So what exactly is wrong? Do we have less Nigerians committed to the system? Do we trust the system less? Do people believe? Those are the questions we should be asking. Not necessarily drive to PVC. It's already proved it does not improve voter turnout.
So beyond the call for PVCs, I mean, don't just get your PVC and stay there. Use it during elections. Go out there to vote. Talking about distrust, I mean, it seems almost INEC doesn't even have trust in itself. And I say this because the federal government of Nigeria set aside whooping 135.22 billion naira in the 2026 budget, specifically for electoral adjudication and post-election provisions. So is this the price of justice or architecture of distrust? Because they seem to be having buyer's remorse. How do you spend 800 billion on elections and then you set aside 135 billion naira for post-election adjudication? Is it that you're anticipating that the process will not be trusted? How do you interpret this, Kunle?
If courts are not the people, have to decide who leads them in a democracy. It's no more a democracy; it's electocracy. The fact that our government, even state governments, even leave monies in the budget to defend a sitting governor, which is totally an anomaly in governance. If you're to defend your mandate, those monies should come from your private pockets, not from state budgets. Now, what's even shocking is if you look at advanced democracies, even the president using the official jet for the country on campaigns, he pays for it. And in Nigeria, you can fly out Eagle One as you wish while you're president and campaign as you wish because you're president. I think our inability to separate the person from the office has been our biggest problem on every level in democracy. We've not been able to separate the person from the office. We feel whoever is in office owns the budget of Nigeria and can set aside money for court cases. And like I've said before, if courts have to always... So Nigeria had 1,191 court cases within its elections in 2023. About that number, either give or take a little bit less or a little bit more. So 1,191, less or more, court cases. That is totally abnormal. Yes, the court is to be an arbiter in a democracy. Yes, one or two people could be constitutional right, but not 1,191 cases. That shows we have flaws in our system, flaws in our process, flaws in our entire operations of how we elect, and discharge duties in governance.
All right, we'll continue to follow up with this story and see when this disbursement will happen, the implications of this, and we continue to raise awareness for the importance of participating in 2027 elections. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure.
Right, traditional rulers and youth leaders in Kogi West Senatorial District have commended the federal and the Kogi state government for what they describe as sustained efforts to tackle insecurity, saying recent security operations are restoring confidence among residents. At a meeting of the Okun Area Traditional Council in Kaba, the Royal Fathers reviewed the security situation across Okun land, pledged continued collaboration with security agencies, and reaffirmed their commitment to promoting peace and stability in their communities. Meanwhile, at a separate briefing, the Okun Youth Leaders and Stakeholders Forum commended President Bola Tinubu and Governor Usman Ododo for the ongoing efforts to combat insecurity, describing recent successes against criminal elements as evidence that investments in security are yielding positive results. The forum also declared support for Sam Arrow's senatorial aspiration, urging members of the All Progressives Congress to remain united while sustaining efforts to consolidate peace and security across Kogi West.
On behalf of all of us in Okun land, to thank the state governor, Alhaji Ahmed Usman Ododo, we are most grateful for what he has done. We are most grateful for efforts that he has put in place to checkmate the activities of these bandits. I want to thank him for concentrating here now to make sure this farming season, our people can go back to the farm.
The neutralization of Batijo, a long-standing threat to peace in Kababunu local government area, marks a pivotal moment in the Kogi State fight against banditry and criminality. This achievement demonstrates the governor's security blueprint is delivering tangible results. The Okun Youth Leaders and Stakeholder Forum hereby issued this formal declaration of our full and unequivocal recognition of Honorable Sam Bamidele. This affirmation is rooted in our confidence in the transparency and fairness of the electoral process, as well as Honorable Bamidele's proven dedication to grassroots development and equitable representation.
And we'll go on a very quick break. We will return to continue conversations this morning on Breakfast Central. Please stay with us.
All right, you're welcome back to Breakfast Central. Online banking has transformed the way millions of Nigerians manage their finances, making transfers, bill payments, savings and investments faster and more convenient. However, the rapid growth of digital banking has also created new opportunities for cyber criminals, with fraudsters increasingly targeting customers through phishing links or fake alerts, cloned websites, and SIM swap scams. According to industry reports, electronic fraud losses in Nigeria have continued to rise alongside the increase in digital transactions, highlighting the growing challenge facing both financial institutions and customers. While banks continue to invest heavily in cybersecurity infrastructure, experts warn that technology alone cannot eliminate the threat.
Now, as cyber threats become more sophisticated, customer awareness and safe digital practices are now considered critical lines of defense against online fraud. This morning, we will examine the evolving tactics used by fraudsters, the vulnerabilities many customers overlook, and the practical steps that Nigerians can take to protect their money as well as their personal information online. We're now joined by the Chief Business Officer at Century Computer Security Service in Nigeria, Mr. Bolabo Awelewa. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Pleasure to be here.
Good morning. Online banking fraud appears to become more sophisticated. It's evolving. What would you say are the most common scams targeting Nigerians today, and why are they proving so effective?
Thank you very much. The interesting part is there's always been that awareness, but I think the people receiving the awareness or responding adequately compared to the people getting attacked, there's just that sharp difference. Common scams today, common incidents today has been account takeover, and a lot of it starts from getting, fake bank alerts. There's been a lot of conversation of issues around investment scams. A very interesting one that has come up lately that is coming from an initiative that has helped, the informal sector, which is having POS agents at different corners, is, fake POS agents. So we've heard of people that have lost money after visiting the POS agent, and they started receiving alerts, and then they've lost a lot of funds, and the difficulty to track down the agents. There's been, from a technology perspective, QR code scams where people, businesses will tell you to scan this QR code to make payments or to access their service. There's also been WhatsApp impersonation where your WhatsApp account is hijacked. People on your contact list are engaged, your family, your friends, to get money off them. The most scary one is the loan app scams where lending businesses, also businesses appear to be lending, you are engaged that you had collected some loan in the past. Meanwhile, some bad actor has actually used your number to subscribe to a lending service, and now you are the one that will be tracked. And they will use your details, they have your BVN, they have your picture, and they can set up to register, and then everything aligns. Also today now with the increase in technology utilization and some businesses leveraging voice banking, there have been vision issues where AI-enabled scams are coming up. A voice you recognize, a business you believe and know, you receive a phone call and you respond accordingly, and then from there, you lose some funds. And that's why you see a lot of financial institutions tell you today that nobody would call you from our bank or institution to ask for your personal information, your PIN, or the password to your application. So there's just a lot. So it's with innovation and initiatives coming up, the bad actors too are leveraging effectively to take advantage of people that are not aware.
Thank you, Bolavo. It seems, like you rightly said, if there's an improvement in technology, the bad actors are not also resting on their nefarious oars. Let's talk about this. I mean, for ordinary Nigerians, we feel, if I don't share my password and my PIN, it means I'm secured. It's foolproof, almost. But many victims of fraud insist they never shared their passwords or PINs. So how are these fraudsters able to gain access to accounts without this information?
So it's become more sophisticated now. And you would think, based on the level of awareness, that people shouldn't still fall for phishing attacks, which is a phishing website that comes up. Today, there's also smishing, which is fraudulent SMSs. So through the SMSs, there's also phishing, which is voice, phone calls pretending to be your bank. And the difference now is, back in the days, it was easy to detect. Today, it's really sophisticated, like it's a lookalike. It feels that way. In fact, I think last week, a prominent bank still sent a message that they would be stopping their X accounts because they were using it to reach out and support customers. And
yeah, I absolutely saw that as well.
Yeah, so some bad actor hijacked it and said, we think we should stop this until we can find a way to legitimately still engage our customers without the bad actor. So it's like what we said. The bad actors are not resting to, they're leveraging. So that is happening. Also, infected phones. We love movies, we love music, we love free stuff. A lot of people have phones, they've downloaded stuff. There are malwares on their phone. Also, a lot of people reuse so when you've gone to a website that somehow, one way or the other, your credentials are captured and you reuse passwords, someone targeting you can try multiple options to be able to get that. There are also credential leakages from possible breaches. I'll give you an example. An online training platform got breached. And basically the username and passwords of people that use those platforms, would be out in the wild. They would reach out to say, if you use our service, we're sorry this happened, please change your credentials. Not too many people respond to that. That could be another leak. There's the same swap attacks, which, yes, there's been a lot of awareness, there's a lot of control in place to, block your same PIN, your same password, your same, but then it's happening a lot. Then the most prevalent one, which I'm very sure is the real deal, is public Wi-Fi. See, you can't blame us. We like free stuff. It's free Wi-Fi here at the airport, or free Wi-Fi at this eatery, free Wi-Fi at this party, or at the conference. And I've just got to utilize it, quickly. So yes, free Wi-Fi. Meanwhile, someone is sitting down there just capturing details, username, passwords, and this happens in real life. And that's why you'd be like, I'm sure I didn't. So for example, even no matter in the world, anywhere I travel, I struggle to use the Wi-Fi given to me at the hotel. My first default is during my hotspot using my phone. It's expensive, but I'm a bit paranoid. So from a security perspective, that's the first thing I do. So except it's
so how do you will a VPN protect you?
So VPN just sort of protects you from letting people know where you are connecting from. So if you use a VPN on a public Wi-Fi infrastructure, yes, it might feel like you are accessing the internet from Russia, but you will still put in your credentials.
True.
Right. And I share the same sentiment with you as well, because when I travel, as much as possible, I try my best to avoid using public internet. And if at all, I don't use it on the phone that has my bank apps, because I don't want to hear stories that's touch. Yeah. But the concern now is with regards to that. I'm always, or have always been curious, how do these hackers get their hands on that information? Is it that the people that are giving out this free Wi-Fi, for example, the hotels or the cafes that are giving out this free Wi-Fi, is it that they sell customer data to these hackers, or is it that the hackers have found their way to manipulate the data themselves without permission? I've always wondered how that works.
So first is just to make it clear, the hotels, I'm sure some hotels put specific effort in changing their passwords every week or every other day. Some other places, it's just that someone can actually still come. So I'll give you an example. I can sit around an hotel or sit around a pub or in a conference and set up a hotspot, name it the name of that conference, and make people think that, we're here for this conference. I see, you understand? So the organizers, the hotel management, the business might have set up secure Wi-Fi, but I can actually go there and actually also just set up my own, maybe let's call it a honeypot, make it attractive, call it the same name as the business or the party or the conference or the program, and people connect to it. Even church, and then you connect to it that, church has given us free Wi-Fi and you're having a good time. And I'm just sitting there capturing details, collecting details. And yes, people collect details today and sell it on the dark web. When businesses get breached, details are sold on the dark web. So for example, there's a service we provide to our customers for threat management, brand and reputation management, where you pay to track activities of your brand or business on the dark web. So if it's mentioned anywhere that, I have credentials for company XYZ, it's mentioned and and you have options. Either you go and buy it off the bad actor or do some things to just protect yourself, or notify your, customers that, hey, there's a chance we've been breached and we want everybody to change their passwords and all that. So I think it's just important you are aware and you are informed, but there's also the insider. We've seen situations, financial institutions, some bad actor inside or some, malicious staff inside sells company confidential details to the bad actors outside, and they perpetrate fraud. So many options, to be honest. I think the most important part is the ability to identify, monitor, and know when you're breached or when there's an anomalous activity on your systems.
My question to you is this. I hope I'm not giving out trade secrets to the bad actors in case they're watching Breakfast Central this morning. How are you able to keep up with, because, you have to give it to them. They're quite innovative and resourceful. How are you able to keep up with latest trends in terms of security breaches and new type of frauds that are coming up? Because it's not just, you're not restricted to a geographical location. It's a global operation.
That's a very good question. So we typically always tell businesses that, yes, it's good to have security controls in place, but it's also very important that you continue to enrich, improve on your existing controls. Again, it comes back to the conversation around threat intelligence services. So there are security service providers, which is they build applications and solutions that, so for example, a fraud management solution. If you have a fraud management solution and you are not updating signatures, you are not updating your pattern recognition, you are not tracking, so we call it fraud hunting or fraud intelligence. Like, you need to be up to speed on new patterns, new methods, new attack patterns that the bad actors are using, or from a transaction monitoring perspective to track that, hey, based on how this account has been accessed to this query, someone maybe checks an account balance and does this, and the fraud is about to happen. Let's flag this, let's raise it. Same thing on systems, someone that usually won't connect to the system. So in a way, there's monitoring, alerting, providing security operations services, also transaction monitoring to track anomalies on your environment. So at least it keeps you informed. And then the moment you see a pattern, because I can't promise you 100% security, but I can let you know that, hey, we can get you to respond quickly or stop an intending, action that might, breach your environment or make you lose funds. So threat intelligence, being aware, staying informed, having systems in place to help you track, monitor, and inform you of an impending attack.
Okay, I'd like us to talk about those who receive calls from numbers claiming to be from their banks and how we can protect against that. But let's go on a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll look into that. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. Let's now look at the conversation or the question I was going to ask you before we went on the break about those who receive calls from phone numbers claiming to be from their banks. How can people better protect themselves? Because we hear it all the time. Even to our parents, they're receiving calls and they're giving you your data. They said it to me. They told me my name. They told me my date of birth. They were saying, is this Olive? They called my full name. Were you born this? And then they were asking for details. How can we better protect ourselves from these fraudsters?
The easiest way first is, if you receive a call, the safest thing to do is possibly end the call and then call your bank, call the business back. So I'm sure it won't be the same number. So you want to call to confirm that I just received a call and I need to confirm that it's the bank reaching out. Then I can assure you, no bank in Nigeria, no bank anywhere in the world calls people with regards to issues on your account and changes, and they need a PIN or they need your password. No bank does that, but I think people sort of get carried away and, they sort of fall for that. So contact your bank immediately. Just check immediately.
I may be wrong, but I have had a call I called the customer care number on the ATM card of the bank. And on the phone, they were asking, put in your 4-digit PIN. I put in a wrong PIN.
No, that is you putting your 4-digit PIN. You're not saying it to them.
Okay. So those are two different things. It's safe if they ask to include that.
Those are two different things. Okay. You are putting in your PIN. So you get to put in your PIN so they can know that, yes, you actually own this account, so they can respond to you, or they can continue to let you do the phone banking. So if you put in the wrong PIN, then you won't be able to continue with the phone banking. But you putting the right PIN means, okay, yes, this person is a customer, he or she owns this account, and we can, continue conducting business. So there are different things you can do. Let's say you receive a call and you think you've given out information, maybe with regards to your card. You can go to your mobile banking to block your card, especially if you're not in town, and go back to your bank and set things up on your back. You can change your passwords immediately. There are just a lot of things you can do. Once you are not sure, even though you've not lost funds, no alerts, you've checked your balance, you have access to your account, everything is working, but you can actually still just call and put a hold on activities. And then people don't read the alerts they get. I'll give you an example. I use some banks where even if I log into the phone, if I don't do transaction, just logging into the phone, I receive an email saying oh, you just log into your mobile banking app. If it's not you, please call the fraud desk. Or if it's not you, please click on this link to block. So there are options. So people need to start reading the SMS alerts they receive. They need to start reading the email alerts they receive, just to be careful. And then if you are not sure, actually call your bank immediately and just place a hold on your account, so that nothing can happen until you're sure. That's what I think we need to do.
Now, Bola, I know this could be a tough question, but are banks and fintech companies doing enough to protect customer data? Is there still a gap between security measures and emerging cyber threats? I also want to know, because when you go on some of these digital banking platforms, you'll see clearly protected or insured by NDIC, that's the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Company. How assuring is that? Because when I see that, I'm like, okay, if anything happens, I'll be compensated.
Yeah. So that is more of the reactive angle. So I'm sure a lot of us would rather prefer that it's prevented than it happening. So I would say, as a business that interfaces with a lot of these fintechs and the banks, digital banks coming up, I would say they are trying their best. I'll be honest with you. I also think the regulators are putting things in place to also, just for those not taking it so seriously, should respond adequately or put measures in place. So I'll tell you for free. I know fintechs today that don't get their licenses from the regulator until they develop a cybersecurity program, until they say comply to some global standards and put some controls in place. Yes, there are ways that could be circumvented, but a good number of businesses actually do that. I also know fintechs and banks that do security assessments, take the security of their customer data seriously. But you see, when it comes to engaging with the bad actors, it's a game. You always need to stay ahead of the curve. And that's why globally you will hear multinationals, big companies get breached. Imagine for businesses in Africa or businesses in Nigeria that are up and coming. And I can assure you, from a budgetary perspective, it's always difficult for them to allocate the right budget to technology, especially for cybersecurity. So they are trying their best. And then some of them come up with the awareness programs from the customer side. So at times, it's just easier to first sort of sensitize the customers to secure their data, to secure their operation. Also, the businesses are putting some measures to secure their operations and business too, and secure their customer data. But it's a game. They're playing catch up. So even when you hear about breaches in Nigeria, you hear it's the big names. Trust me, a lot of small names are getting breached, but they are not, maybe it won't make the news or not. I won't say they are not important, but the attack surface is not as major as the big brands you hear about. So everybody is prone to getting breached. It's a game. You need to keep edging, putting controls in place, staying informed, and just ensuring your customers are happy working with you or are confident or trust you. Establishing digital trust with your customers and your partners, and that you can do by just staying ahead of the curve, staying informed. And yes, like you mentioned, our card details now are used globally, and so you can be breached from anywhere using your card details from a Nigerian bank or a Nigerian business. So yes, the awareness is really good. It's something that should continuously be done. And I think the banks or the fintechs are also trying their best to put things in place. The regulator too is also helping them nudge to push that, the ecosystem is secure. All right.
Our hope is that we don't see fraud. Nobody wants to fall victim of fraud, but we can't take away the fact that it's a possibility that can happen. So where one person or a customer has fallen victim to online fraud, what immediate steps should they take to improve their chances of recovering their funds and maybe prevent further damage being done to their monies or what's left of it?
Step is call your bank. Call the business that you're working with, whether it's a lending platform, the bank, payment service bank, a digital bank. Call your bank to stop that. I know a lot of businesses or a lot of financial institutions are putting effort in place to have a 24/7 customer care center. Some even make it digital, so you don't need to speak to someone. You can actually, like the one you mentioned, there are some banks you call, put in your PIN and stop an impending fraud. Except that PIN has been changed, then you need to do a phone call, get someone. In fact, you just need to have maybe your account manager on speed dial, someone you can call if there's an issue and your account has been hijacked to stop the transfers. Unfortunately, from a lot of the incidents we've seen, monies have been moved heavily before they know and before they react. But yes, calling your bank would help so that you can freeze your account, you can change your password, change your, just giving adequate information with regards to the incident to stop it and then taking next steps. Unfortunately, for an incident that has happened overnight or in the middle of the night and getting someone to pay attention or respond to you, especially if they don't have a platform that can stop it. But today, they have, most businesses, most financial institutions have a fraud desk, have 24/7 customer care center. So maybe it's something you want to look at to work with a particular financial institution and ensure they have these support systems in place in case there's a fraud or there's a breach, and then you can reach out to them. Also have all your screenshots, SMS, every alert you receive that you can share with them so that they can track and then be able to help you either leverage the NDIC promise, which is helping you, giving you back your funds, or being able to trace the transaction and helping you recover as soon as possible.
Earlier when you were answering our questions, you mentioned phishing, you mentioned vishing, and with artificial intelligence now being used to create convincing fake messages and voices, how would you say that the fraud landscape is changing, and how should consumers adapt?
Okay, so the fraud landscape is continuously evolving. I don't know whether to be excited about that. But for the consumers, I think they need to have adequate information. So get educated, especially if you want to subscribe to a new service from your financial institution. Understand the technology and understand the risks of using this technology, and also ask questions. Okay, what controls have you put in place? It's happening today, third-party risk management, even the fourth party, where you are saying that, okay, this technology you're introducing to us, what are the risks, who is providing it to you, what controls have been put in place? So the easiest way to keep yourself secure is to keep your PIN to yourself, keep your password to yourself. For your apps, for your bank applications or financial apps, you also want to ensure it is on a secure device and you're managing it directly yourself, and ask your provider the right questions with regards to, tracking and monitoring transactions and securing your data. I'm sure a lot of the financial institutions are aligning, with the curve as it's coming, and they too are putting, for example, there's a regulation for everybody to have a fraud management, fraud monitoring service, AML, also KYC service. And this would help the businesses know every customer and be able to track transactions effectively and report on, possibly fraudulent transactions too.
Now, as we finally wrap up this conversation, beyond individual vigilance, what role should regulators, financial institutions, and even the CBN and telecom operators play in strengthening cybersecurity and data protection in Nigeria?
Fantastic. Yeah. So for the regulator, like you mentioned, CBN, they've been doing this, and it's just continue to push to ensure all regulated businesses are compliant to this standard. So they have been pushing for specific security standards to be complied to and enforcing compliance. I think that's the most critical part, execution. Operationalizing these standards to the different businesses, protecting consumer rights. I know the FCCPC too now is getting involved with fintechs and all these institutions, and also encouraging information sharing. I think the biggest challenge we have today is sharing information. Incidents in Bank A, please quickly share with the community so Bank B to Z are secure and don't fall for the same. So sharing would really help. On the telecom side, it will be to provide stronger SIM swap verification, methods, fraud detection too, especially from the vision, the voice pattern recognition perspective, blocking malicious SMS campaigns. They need to find a proactive way to block this malicious SMS campaign aside we reporting it, because for a lot of them, they're more reactive, which is we're the ones calling to say, we receive all these SMSs, please can you stop this? And then they put you on the DND list. No, there's a way they need to be able to proactively identify that this is fraudulent and spurious traffic, and protecting the subscriber's identity and working closely with financial institutions to be able to stop a lot of these nefarious activities, happening, leveraging their platform to the financial institutions.
Thank you so much, Balabo Awelewa. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you this morning. Thanks for your insights and also your very insightful and educative conversation. I'm sure a lot of us have learned one or two things. I mean, if I'm going to travel, I think I'll just... I still believe, I'm very traditional, I still believe in cash. Cash is king for me. To avoid stories that touch. Thank you so much. You're watching Breakfast Central. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, it will be time for us to look at the big stories making the headlines and the front pages of the newspapers. Do stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome to Breakfast Central. It's time to review the front pages of the papers, looking at the stories with us this morning and rendering his unfiltered opinion and thoughts on these stories is the incredibly talented political analyst and politician, Dotun Ojong. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Do you want to set me up this morning?
Very somehow. Do you need anything?
Good morning.
At least I know you that tells every analyst from my previous analyst.
Almost, what you did just now is reminiscent of Governor Pebbles' hype man.
Governor with the entire gutter. All right, let's get into the papers this morning, starting off with the Punch newspaper. On the front page of the Punch newspaper, we can see the big story of the Punch here. Obi Kwankwaso lead NDC's battle against the registration. Sub-stories there, we can see the lawyers push speedy appeal as court ruling threatens NDC. Maybe let's even just begin with that. NDC's deregistration. Let's get your thoughts on that.
Yes.
Alleged deregistration.
Alleged.
Yeah, because what they said is they are setting aside, they erred in their judgment. They haven't officially given an order for a deregistration.
And they actually said they should revert to status quo before the judgment.
So why did
December.
they do it in the first place? So heat up the policy.
So one of the reasons why, when Obi moved to NDC, one of the reasons why I was extremely careful about talking about some of these things was because of the fact that I also do not want to play into the hand of people who want a one-party state, quote unquote. But from the beginning, people like us have known that there's going to be an issue. If you trace it from the beginning, what led to this? NDC had actually applied. Some said they've done that since they've been doing that since 2018. And INEC said that you have not met the requirement, especially on the issue of logo. Now, they went to court. They went to court by themselves for the court to compel INEC to register them, despite the reservations of INEC. Should I shock you? It was not just only the logo. Even their motto is service to the people. It's owned by the Young Progressives Party. So those ones also will just exercise a bit of restraint that they will not take them to court because they also don't want to play into the hand of the power of the day. So when they went to court, court did not air the matter of the logo. They just felt that these people have met all the requirements, go and register them. Because what INEC said was that there's a resemblance between that logo and that of APC. But the court said no, they don't see any resemblance, go and register them. Only for the original owner of the logo to now come out to say, we are actually the original logo. In fact, they have used that same logo to apply to INEC for registration. But INEC denied them registration.
In 2015, right?
Maybe
and what parties?
Before that, that's PMP.
Peace movement.
Yes,
of the party. The owners of the logo.
Of the logo.
That is our Neomo logo.
Very funny.
So if you look at all of these things, you know that from the very beginning, you will suspect, one would naturally suspect that there will be an issue. But now what NDC has done is the fact that they said, okay, we are actually going to appeal to have a stay of execution before we talk about the appeal and all of that, do all of that today. They are not saying that they are confident that this will put through with INEC. But what they want to do is to continue to push it because they have appellate option. So that before they can have the finality of judgment at the Supreme Court, election will have been held. So whosoever becomes, whatever can actually decamp to any party. NDC cannot come out today and say that they are 100% sure that INEC will actually, that they will win at the court. But what they are banking on is an opportunity to say, okay, let's continue to push this to exhaust our appellate option so that before then, they know that, you know, the justice system in Nigeria grinds slowly. So they know that they will have done election. So it's actually a sad reality. I saw this coming, but it's a conversation I never wanted to have because indirectly you may actually be playing into the hand of people who don't want serious opposition. People who want PDP as the only opposition. I mean the wicked kind of PDP. So I don't want to play into their hand, but that is the reality.
But beyond that, I mean, in response to this, Seriake Dixon was of the opinion that first, PMP is not a registered political party. You're not an original party in the first suit, and that if you're going to be able to bring this up, it should be a registered political party. They are not a registered NGO anywhere. He's argued that the peace sign is a sign that is not synonymous to anyone. It's universal. Mahatma Gandhi and the likes have used that peace sign. He's also argued about the court, that if the court of first instance, the court had said, you know, we erred, they shouldn't be the one to then say, oh, let's set it aside. That if anyone has an issue, they should have appealed it and not go back to the same court where the initial judgment was given.
Okay, so have you ever asked yourself the question, why Lokoja in the first place? Why NDC left Abuja? They went to Lokoja. Let me tell you, of course, you have an idea of how it works. Everybody is looking for a court that will grant this thing. In fact, there was one that happened in Abuja. Sheyi Makinde went to the one in Oyo. So everybody is just shopping for the judgment.
With regards to the convention.
To the convention. Everybody is just going to court and shopping for judgment that will favor them. That does not favor you today. Does not mean that you will now come. It has favored you before.
But is that not
the right thing, sir? The right thing. Have you done the right thing? The answer is no. But what we are praying is that we don't want to play into the hand of opposition. And the way, you know, I said it the other day, a lot of people went for me. I said, to run an election, you will not understand the politicking that is involved in the Nigeria kind of situation. If you are a perpetual election runner, you just come to contest election. Until you go to the side of party administration, it is then you will understand all of the tricks that are involved. To register a political party, you have to be extremely careful. Do you know how many associations are actually applying every day? All of these sensitivities are required. Now, they are now talking about not even giving them access code. It's another conversation entirely. See, for National Assembly and presidential candidate, they have to register between now and July 11. So if you don't put your house in order, you don't get the code before then, what's the law?
So it doesn't matter that it wasn't their fault that this code, that there was bureaucratic issues, administrative issues that INEC is now privy to. It doesn't matter. Those will not count for an
So
excuse.
now there's a timetable. Nothing has altered the timetable.
Right.
The timetable is that Friday, a political party should go to INEC headquarters and go take the code. What do you use the code for? Now, there are two forms that you take. You take the expression of interest form, you take the nomination form for the political party. When you take that, that enables you to do primary election. Mm-hmm. After the primary election, INEC now sends its own form to the political party. So you fill those forms.
With the candidates. With the candidates that won.
Yes. No, INEC just naturally just sent to political party. So political party will now give to the candidate that won election. That's the candidate here. Because you move from
aspirant to
candidate. Aspirant to candidate. Now the candidate will fill the form. It is the form that you need the code to actually submit to the INEC portal. So now whether there's going to be a change is going to be another conversation entirely. But all of these things have actually been timed. From Friday to 11th of June, you have to submit for National Assembly and for presidential.
But you need a code. You
need the code. If you don't get the code, I don't know.
Okay, let's take some other stories still on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Binga?
The top of the Punch newspaper there, Operation Kosaye, which translates to "There's no space." Police hunt kidnappers in Lagos and Ogun Forest. There's a video of Sunday Igboho's security outfit, Iruekun. You know, they caught some men in the forest, and it raises questions about profiling. That is it automatic? Do you automatically assign the tag bandit to anyone that is caught in the forest or has a dagger? We have people that do nomadic business in the forest, and also the registration. Who has given him the right to go around being a vigilante and enforcing security? Is his organization properly registered? What sorts of arms are they allowed to bear? Also, 1.34 million Nigerians denied UK visas in 21 years. That's the entire population of the Gambia and so many countries put together. What is it in the UK that many people want to go to? And why is such a high visa rejection rate? Olive, you've been to the UK. Is it heaven?
At least things move smoothly and people
So
just
before the structural adjustment program of 1986, you don't need a visa to go to the UK. But a lot of Nigerians never bothered to go. In fact, I have said it repeatedly that there's nothing wrong in relocating. Most of our forefathers, actually at one point or the other, they relocated, but with the intention of going to get exposure and education to come back and develop their country. But what we have now is that Jackpaism has become a way out of the trouble of the nation.
Olive comes back. And so many things. She comes back a lot.
So what I'm trying to say is that when people continuously lose hope in their country, they find hope anywhere. You get to some funny countries and you see Nigerians and you're like, what are you guys doing here?
They say if you go to any country and you don't see a Nigerian,
just run.
I mean, they're Nigerians
just run.
In Papua New Guinea.
And that's why you see how it turned out. And I was at the US Embassy some years back. I wanted to attend a leadership program and I've paid for this thing and all of that. And I got there. And they said I couldn't go.
Wow.
And immediately I told them, I said, you will never see me here again until I have the invitation of your government. Because you cannot just profile. You just talked about profiling. You can't just believe that every Nigerian that is coming is going to escape or do. But that is the perception that we've got about our country. So I think they are also wise enough now to be using Nigerians to make a whole lot of money. A whole lot of money.
I think it should be refundable, or some aspects of it, like Japan.
Yes, exactly.
Japan will take the administrative costs and then give you
and
balance.
Give you back.
The US is building its largest embassy in Eco-Atlantic with the money of people that they've rejected.
I don't want to wrap up this conversation without talking about chaos has flooding shut Lagos Airport's temporary terminal. We've seen the impact of flooding in Lagos. I want you to speak on that.
Yesterday on the Maryland Bridge, that's on your way to the airport. I think that was a warning that don't go to the airport because the entire space is actually flooded. And I've repeatedly said it, that solving the problem of flooding in Lagos requires the input.
This is the Odoyalaro
Yes,
Bridge.
this is Maryland. Requires the input of both the government and the people. And for the government, there's a strategic plan that needs to be in place. This particular place that they showed, the Odoyalaro, I studied it this morning, and you discover that the water outlet there on the bridge was very tiny. So there was no proper outlet for water. And I must also say that Lagos is actually trying in terms of the flood management.
If they are not trying, what will happen?
No, if you go there this morning now, you discover that the water has actually gone off completely the road. That tells you that there's actually a strategic plan that was put in place before. But there must be. You must continue to look forward in a city of 23 million people through sensitization. Don't just drop this thing, because when there's no proper waste management, flood is imminent. So these are the conversations that we must continue to have between the government and the people as we move on as a city.
All right.
Is there room to take one more?
I don't know that we have room for that. We've come to the end of Breakfast Central. It is...
FCCPC, they said the oil marketers should, they're not watching the news and see what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. Brent crude oil is $73, but we're still paying upwards of $1,000 at the pump. So they should act fast and let it reflect.
I bought 2-1 within the space of last week, and I bought one something also.
2,100?
Yeah, I bought 2-1. You see, you don't know what's happening until you get out of Lagos. You don't know what's happening. 1.8 to 1 in what's the name of the place? One of the eastern states. They sold between 1.8. So what they do is that they displayed it on this thing. When you get into the filling station, they will just direct you to the man standing by. So it's 2-1. So you want to buy, you buy. If you don't want to buy, you go.
Just like ride-hailing apps
So
in some states. What reflects on the app is different from
virtually every part of Nigeria, and Port Harcourt is number 1 on the list. They will also tell you if you want to use AC, you pay a special amount of money. If you don't want to use AC,
wow.
Yes, so it's like that.
Thank God that we didn't have to buy air to breathe. If not, they will have been packaging air premium air, you know, fake air. As we wrap up, Joseph Smart says, good morning, Olive and Benga. No matter what your guest says, it is intellectually blind and morally mischievous for that judge to pronounce a withdrawal of his own judgment, period. This is a conversation that continues tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So please join us for Breakfast Central, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. We have to exit the studio now.
And Joe Hansen will be back from the errand I sent him tomorrow, yes.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr.